I see Bhavik. Whom else do I know?
Okay, we are live now.
Perfect.
So, yeah, we.
Okay, not yet. Wait. Yes, you're live now.
Right, so shall we start, Mansamar?
Yeah, let's start. I'll share the screen.
Cool. Okay, so good afternoon, guys. My name is Tanya Polik, and I'm the Zonal Officer Interna for East. And I welcome you all to the 7th keynote of AMSACON. I hope you all are having a good time at AMSACON. The 7th keynote is Medically Mediocre by Dr. Avi Singh, everybody's favorite. So guys, this keynote will focus on tips and tricks to tackle the roller coaster called MBBS. We are also going to discover what is important out of those books that you've managed to collect somehow. Also, we are going to discover that all of us are amazing and all of us have great potential. Over to you, Mansavar.
Thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mansimar Kaur, Zonal Officer Internal for North Zone. And our speaker for today, as most of you know, is one of our very own, someone who is a constant source of encouragement, support, and motivation for all of us every single day. He has secured AFMC All India Rank 1 in 2015 and then went on to become a BFUHS state topper in 2019. He is not only very evidently a brilliant academic mind, but also a creative genius, a poet, an artist, a performer, whose unique perspective compels you to consider the flip side of things you might never discover yourself. He's also an integral part of AMSA India. He's the current VOCI, that is the Vice Overall Chairperson Internal. His work ethic, dedication, and leadership skills always leave us in awe of him. So, his enthusiasm and the originality of his ideas, like the 4 zones across all of the country, which was his brainchild, are proof of his ability to bring everyone together and make them feel a sense of belonging. He truly is an inspiration for all of us. We welcome Dr. Avi Singh.
Hi, am I visible and audible to everyone?
Yes,
Hi, Mansimar. And I mean, all that you heard is just 10% true. Let me tell you, and you will realize that throughout. It's all of us at AMSA, all these 4 people who have been doing such an amazing job. And not to me, but thanks to this platform that we can all come across and share whatever we learn. So I just happen to be in a position where I have the experience, the mistakes that I've done, and I really want that all of you, no matter whichever prof you're from, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, the internship, I've tried that. The mistakes that I've done throughout the year, I've seen people do them. I really wish that I had someone during my times to tell me these things. And I think I'll try my best to do that to you. Just a few ground points for everyone. This is a very well organized casual meet, first of all. I think this poster summarizes most of the things over here. I think Rajesh Kumar, are you able to see the video? Is that Mansamar, is the video visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Perfect. And I think so. All of us face this problem that when we were told by our parents that "Arey medical le lo, life set ho jayegi." So I think that's everyone's problem. And then once you get into MBBS, everything is sorted. Until we realize that life is not easy. And even after MBBS, there's PG and then there's DM. So this never comes to an end. And when we think, I think the biggest problem or biggest issue that we can create for ourselves is saying that once this gets over, we'll start enjoying. Because that does not happen. MBBS never gets over. You are always practicing for a reason. So our attempt is going to be explore the tips and the tricks. I've divided the session into the problems that we all face, the solutions, the tricks, the tips, and 5 blunders that I think we should all not commit. So the whole session is going to be divided into two parts. There are going to be things which we'll stress upon, which can help us through the academics of MBBS. And then there will be parts interspread between called pearls. So I have 18 pearls hidden in there, which I think can help us make a better student, a better doctor, and most importantly, a better person. And very importantly, this is just one person's perspective. I am not necessarily the only correct person on this earth, or for that reason, even correct. So everyone is unique. What I want to make you learn at the end of this, that you have to know yourself, trust yourself, and what you like in this presentation, what you like about what I say, what makes sense to you, incorporate that, what doesn't, don't, and add your teachings, your learnings into your way of doing stuff. So I think Mansima, we can move ahead. Perfect. So yeah, one thing that I want to just mention over here, because I think a lot of people have this misconception about life. So these are the 4 medical colleges, except I didn't qualify for Delhi because I got 68. But these are the 4 colleges that I went to and I got my admission into, and I stayed there. And I've received the biggest backlash from everyone. I'm pretty sure people here will be doing that why the hell would you leave those? And so I went to St. GS Medical College in my 3rd national counseling. Then I got admitted to the name Guru Tegh Bahadur UCMS Delhi, then to Safdarjung after a lot of prayers from my parents that the only place that I would go to is Delhi, otherwise I won't go to a medical college. And at the end, when everything got sorted, I had to come back because of a few reasons or choices, I would say, which is a story for some other time. I got somehow unexpectedly the first rank at AFMC, which is, I would say, not in anyone's hand. But even then, I decided to not go there for reasons which are beyond the scope of this presentation. But we have this misconception that people at AIMS, people at different colleges that we didn't qualify for, they are some different breed. They are born geniuses. Yes, there are very intelligent people. There might be very hardworking people. But at the core of it, let me tell you, those people are as much the same. You guys are as much. Mansima, can you mute? Yeah. So, I mean, we have to understand. And the reason that I am telling you this, because I have been to those 4 places and I've seen people here amongst me who are way more talented, who are as much hardworking. Where the difference lies is the environment you get there and the smartness with which you work. So I think we'll stress upon the smartness. And one thing that I very, very strongly believe, that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, regret is born to murder your present potential. You make a choice, you hope for the best, and you make do with what you have, because everything is beautiful if you want to look at it the right way. Mansima, we can move to the next one. So if we are here, so yeah, that's just an art form that I wanted to show over here as well. The world will always shower colors. I mean, this was one day someone told me that, don't you regret not going to FMC? Don't you regret going to VMMC? And I very genuinely thought and asked myself, do I? And I actually did not. And that is when I drew this, that the world will obviously always have colors to shower. It depends upon you. How long do you want to dress in that monochromatic dress, have an umbrella, hide yourself from all the happiness the world has to offer? If you go ahead, you have a different shade of colors. If you go behind, you have a different shades of color. The day you decide to take off that umbrella, your life is happy wherever you are. And moving on to the next, Mansima. I think we can move on to the next slide as well. And the next slide. So trying to make it interesting. This is the first pearl. We'll follow the Greek mythology as a subset of themes to make the whole session interesting. And starting with the first pearl, I think I want an interactive session here. So I have a few questions for you, which is going to be multiple images, and you need to come to a common disease that you think is connected by the 4 images. And you need to do it as fast as you know in the chat box. All right. And can we have the 4 images, Mansimar? Okay. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let me just open the chat box. Let me just see if people can answer. So I think, perfect. I want you guys to be super, super, super active and write the answers down, because I want you to know that you have to trust yourself. Okay. And now I want everyone to wait, and I want to tell you guys a hint. Do you see a dog in there? Because I do not. And now I want you guys to think that if you are sure about your answer. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys were confident on rabies itself, right? But just for a second, if it ever came to your head that, oh God, I might be wrong. Although you all know it's hydrophobia, it's a bullet-shaped virus, it's a street virus, and there are animals that help spread rabies. So your instinct was right. And somehow, if the examiner tries to just put forward something or not put forward something that is very relevant to you, your brain gets manipulated. Yeah, I see a Nipah there. I see a gunshot injury there. I see anxiety there. And the answer was rabies, which everyone was thinking. Perfect. So be very sure about what you're thinking. Most times you are going to be right. Okay. Can we move on to the next slide? Yes. Okay. So we've learned a lot in our +1, a lot in +2. I want all you guys to write in what you see here. What molecule is that? And I'll give you a hint. Mansamar, can we have the image also along with it? Yes. I'm just giving you 10 more seconds to write. Anyone who knows that answer, what molecule is that? I would love it, because even if you don't, you're thinking in your head. Okay. Ester is amazing, but which ester? Exactly. So not wasting much time, let me tell you, that is amazingly correct. Okay, one I got benzyl benzoate, one I got serotonin. We've read physics, chemistry, bio, everything in +1 and +2. And most of us, including myself, think, what is the purpose? Was there ever even any fun? You won't even find any direct purposes to things that you've read most times. You will have to apply that purpose to find an answer to stuff. What happens when we look at this molecule, we think, oh shit, organic chemistry. We don't even want to bother to remember it. But I think this is the most basic molecule that every one of you remember, in the sense that there's a benzene ring, and then there's another benzene ring. And there's nothing simpler to it, only if we apply our brains, that it is benzyl benzoate, because it's benzoic acid. And all it requires is you guys to trust yourself. Okay, let me just try and give it a shot. I'm pretty sure that if you have these 4 answers, you would not answer serotonin, right? And we just have to trust yourself. And yes, exactly. The hint was KBs. So everything you remember, give it purpose. If you don't remember organic chemistry, you will need some other hint to come to the answer. But if you remember something, use it to your advantage. No one is going to ask you in a question directly that use organic chemistry to solve this answer. It depends upon you what you want to use to get to the right answer, right? And the next slide, Mansimar. Perfect. So moving on to the session, 5 problems and 1 solution for most of us over here. But today, the session is about totally something else. It's 5 solutions to 1 problem of MBBS. And that is exactly what we're going to discuss. And one thing that I want all of you to do is, a few people out here would want to take up the pen, paper, make notes, or like just write the points. You're most welcome to do that. But most importantly, trust yourself, stay in the session, absorb what is being told, feel it. That is more important than writing, because once you're writing, then you're not here. So Mansima, we can move on to the next one. So moving on to the session, the whole session is going to be divided into the next transition, Mansimar. The predicament. I hope there are God of War fans out here. Otherwise, it's okay. The problems, the smart ways, Medusa's head, Achilles' heel, the god of medicine, a plan at the end. So that's an insight, and we can move to the next session. Yeah, Arihant is excited. Glad to see that. Perfect. I hope that this gets you engrossed a little. Okay, so that is 1 MBBS student in there. And Mansimar, can we have all the enemies that one poor soul needs to battle? And this is still, I would say, a much more complacent image of what the actual situation is, because we have the third prof subjects, fourth prof subjects, and the teachers who are experts in their subjects. And then what happens, there's this big enemy, which is everything together in there, which is medicine. And then can you see that one eyrie at the back, which no one realizes, but hits you in the back really bad? Preventive and social medicine. And that is exactly what it does, because sometimes the system that we are, I would say, blessed with is not really perfect, but there are solutions to it. And that's exactly what we are going to discuss. Moving on, Mansimar. Okay. The third poll for you. You know it all, but did you answer it first? So can we have it? I want all the 4 images, and I want the answer from all 4 of you, from everyone who wants to answer in the chat box right now. So there's a swelling in the axilla, there's a safety pin, and the other 2 images, and you can see that. And I want a quick answer from everyone. Amazing. Now let me tell you, amazing that you got it right. But if there are 300 people out here, most people who are in second, third prof, out of the 300, 290 got it. And that is not going to really help us in any case. So that is why we have an expectation failure. What happens that we got it right, but we didn't get the rank. Because what happens, a lot of people out of you at the safety pin knew that it is plague, but you wanted to wait. Let me just confirm it. And then you saw the rat flea. And then out of those 290, 50 more people were sure about it. And then a few people still waited that, oh, now I see the rat. Now I am sure that it is plague. But till that time, out of those 290, almost 290 people have already answered the question. That is where the problem happens. And do you realize that at the first 2 images, out of the 200 people who did not answer, 150 knew the answer. So you know it all, but it's very important that you trust yourself and you answer it first. Okay. So these are just little things that I think you can just have it in your subconscious. That is where the expectation failure happens. Mansimar, moving on to the next slide. Amazing. And the next slide. And the same question again, you need to connect the 4 as soon as possible. Over here, connect them to over here. Now I want you guys to connect it. And now I want you guys to connect it. The 4th one. The very same logic here. What happens, MBBS makes us not think in the simple direction. A lot of us don't even see the comma in there. And it's okay if people don't know John Snow. John Snow was the person who made the map for cholera in London for the first time. So that is an SPM related sensible thing, I must say. But the point is, if you know the answer on the first 2 images, grasp that opportunity. If someone sees a comma-shaped bacillus, everyone is going to know it is Vibrio cholera. And if you see a contaminated glass, even a non-medico will know it is cholera. So you are not in the league. And the saddest part is you knew the answer at the first 2 images. Like 90% of the people know that the comma-shaped bacillus is the one that causes cholera. So make sure that you grab the easier questions rather than running behind the difficult questions at all times. And moving on to the next image. Mansimar. So moving on to the session, what really is the problem with MBBS? And can we have the slide? I want everyone over here to relate because I relate so much. The first problem is, हम sure ही नहीं है हमें MBBS चाहिए. I am not even sure I wanted to be a doctor and my parents just put me into it. Or my parents didn't. I wanted to be a doctor. I am no more sure that I really wanted to MBBS. Now I've taken MBBS. There is an unrealistic number of subjects, one poor soul, and there are 19 subjects without divisions. And that also, if you divide anatomy into histology, osteology, cross, neuroanat, it is crazy, right? That is still okay. I have 19 subjects. I have freaking infinite number books for each subject. How do you expect one poor soul to do that? If one poor soul does that, you read all the books, you don't even remember the books after which you spend time and read it. And even if you retain them, what happens? Sometimes you don't even have enough time before the exam to retain them all or to read them all. And even if you manage to do that, even if you retain them, even if you manage to have time for that, you still fail in the exam. And that is the reality that happens with a lot of us. And after that, once you have done it, once you've failed and then given the supply and then given the exam and then qualified, you're not even sure about your PG, because your system does not decide if you'll get a PG. After MBBS, you're almost nothing. And the uncertainty about PG is not just which stream you want to choose. Like, I want to go into neuro, nephro, because our system never really taught what is done in medicine, what is really done in surgery, especially skin, psychiatry. And then people happen to just take it. And the road I here mean is, even if you want to stay in India or abroad, our system does not really tell what is the pros and cons. Even if you want to go abroad, I'm sure a lot of you have questions. Is UK a better place? Is US a better place? We've had amazing sessions, but no one's told us that what really is the difference in time, in terms of what life we live. And even after everything, after an internship, you become a doctor, your parents tell you, show these reports of your relatives, यार तू तो हमारा डॉक्टर बच्चा है, हमें देख के बता कि क्या हुआ है इन्हें. And then you are in this existential crisis that what just did happen in my 5 years? I never really became a doctor. I don't even know how to put a syringe. I don't even know how to fill a syringe. I don't even really know how to take a blood pressure correctly, because our system always just focused on making us good academicians, not really doctors. And trust me, for a patient, a doctor is that person who knows how to give you medicine. Doesn't really matter anything, whatever your degree is, right? So we'll tackle all these problems together. And these were my problems too. So if your problems were here, so don't worry, we have solutions to them. And trust me, what Mansimar might have told, all the ranks and everything, I mean, I think I'm more than lucky, but nothing more than that. I am not a very hardworking soul at all, but I knew myself I wasn't. So we are all medically mediocres. And I'm just here to tell you, even after being a medically mediocre person, we can do things the smart way and score everything. I'm not telling you you'll be first in an exam. I'm not telling you you'll be 10th in an exam, but I'm telling you that if you do the things right way, you can receive the best of your potential, which is a lot, which is definitely amongst the top 100, 200, which is possible, because all of you are medical students. You qualified for medical. You've already segregated the lot in your school classes, which were not at that level, right? So we'll move on to the next slide, Mansimar. And yes, I think everyone of us has had that non-med sibling. So I really don't want to talk about it. It's hurtful. We will move on to the fifth pearl. Very important. The very same question. I want to give you 4 images and I want an answer from you guys. Mansimar, can we have the 4 images? This is an anatomical structure that you want to write. So this is specially made for the first prof people, because you know this. You have no excuse to not try. Try it. Try to connect an anatomical structure. Mansimar, I think we have 2 more images. Let's give them. Arachnoid matter is 1. Okay. The second one is, okay, Vaishali, let me just give you a hint. Yes, amazing. Spider nevi, arachnoid. I am loving that I put this hint over here. Yes. Now, guys, whatever you've written almost 10 things here. But let me tell you, you've not written the right answer. It might be relevant, but you've not written exactly what I'm looking for. You don't have to tell me the condition. Yes, Tanishka is somewhere there. Okay. So even if you're in exams, you get a lot of hints inside the question. You get a lot of images sometimes. And sometimes those images are made to trick you, to want you to answer something specific. Oh, arachnid. Did I actually think arachnoid matter? Oh, it has to be the answer. Let me just write it. And oh, I can't connect one thing, but it's okay. So the first image is an arachnid. The second image is villi in the intestine. So hydrocephalus, arachnoid granulation for every rhyme and reason is correct. But the point is, sometimes the examiner is going to be adamant on what he wants exactly. If you can connect everything, then you are sure that you're correct. So sometimes give it time, because all of you know the answer. Think why something has been mentioned in a question. It might already be correct, but it might not be correct, right? Yeah, Sneha, I mean, that is the best way you want to answer stuff. Exactly. Arachnoid villi / granulations. And yes, can we move on to the next slide? So we've discussed the problems. We want to discuss smart ways. Do we know who Athena was? Anyone? Yes, amazing. And goddess of wisdom, amazing. And do we understand that there's a difference between smartness, wisdom, and intelligence? There's a huge hell lot of difference between the three. Yeah. So wisdom is something that you use your knowledge. Knowledge is facts, information, knowledge, and wisdom. The application of using the knowledge that you have out of facts in the most appropriate way is what makes you wise. So make sure that you target being wise, not knowledgeable that much or factitiously correct. So yes, guys, I want to very carefully elaborate on these points because this is the soul of the whole presentation. And be with me over here. These 7 points here, you want to understand them fully. Know yourself and design a unique way. Everyone amongst you is different. Every one amongst you. Someone's hardworking, someone's born with a better grasping power. Someone reads moti books, heavy books, and retains less. Someone reads less, retains more. Someone takes time to read less. Someone takes time to read more. So how do you expect that you look at your batchmates who are reading the same heavy books, you retain the same? Even if you're more intelligent, more knowledgeable, more wise in a different way, everyone's different. And the problem happens when you start imitating the other person. When you start feeling that, oh my God, in my class, I am the only one who's reading this book, even if it is suiting me, but no one else is. I start panicking because maybe there's something wrong with the book. No one's an idiot to make a crappy book to that extent that it's going to write wrong anatomy in there. If some book suits you because your system of working suits you, like I was that person who used to read very little books and I used to connect things and write myself in exams. But there are people, a lot amongst you, who will read heavier books and retain less. So you have to know which way you function best, right? Exactly. Someone reads KDT, someone reads Shanbag. Let me just admit, I have not read KDT. I have read Shanbag, and it is an amazingly beautiful book. And neat hona hai ke next. Abhi batata hu. Because I am in the newly formed committee, definitely. But so Shanbag, I would just suggest that even if someone's reading KDT, it is such a beautiful book that you should definitely read it along. I think we can move on to the next point over here, Mansimar. We'll get back to these at the end. So connect, it's all end game, and divide and conquer. So what happens is that I'll just take down the chat box. What happens sometimes that kya hota hai कि we got a specific question in a paper and we are studying for microbiology, and then we get a question in medicine, and then a lot of us start thinking that what I read that in medicine, but I haven't read it with the perspective of a microbiology answer. It's not like that. You don't have to consider it 19 different subjects. One subject of MBBS has been divided for your convenience into 19 different subjects. If I'm writing a medicine answer, if I remember something from microbiology, I will put it in there. I will use that to my advantage. No one can read everything, but what you know, you have to find place to add it somewhere. Let me tell you, in my final MBBS exams, we got, out of 80 marks, we got 60 questions of microbiology, 60 marks microbiology, 10 marks tuberculosis, 10 marks syphilis, 10 marks tubercular meningitis in the same exam, and rickettsial diseases. No one studies microbiology in the final year because we don't have time for that, but it's part of medicine. And the day you start thinking that, oh God, I have not studied this for this exam, so I cannot write it. That's not how it goes. Because then in life, you're going to look at your patients and then you're going to be like, I studied this 20 years back and I don't feel confident in connecting things enough. Just trust yourself. Whatever you've read at some time, if you're reading microbiology today, it will come to your help in the final prof. And similarly, pathology, similarly, your basics in your first prof. So think of it like that. Divide and conquer. Divide your subjects in terms of priority of what is important for exams. I must say, like pharma, paths, micro are something that will help you with every subject. So obviously prefer those subjects much more. Fourth point over here is, especially with subjects like anatomy, those subjects are not meant to be read. You cannot afford to read every line and then say that I don't remember anything at the end of the day, because that subject was meant to be visualized. And our system is really sucked up over there that we are never told to do that. That subject, just trust me, if you just look at larynx 1 on a video, you will never forget it in life. And read how much ever, you will always be cramming, and you'll forget it. Just look at the right diagram, search YouTube, go to a nice video watching site or whatever, but you'll never forget it if you look at the video. Mansimar, can we have the last 3 points? One thing that I was very bad at, just don't read at all the times. Regularly test yourself, because testing yourself tells you that what you've been reading is actually functioning or not. When you read it, you look at it at a different perspective. When you're solving it at tests, MCQs or whatever, that makes hell lot of a difference. So I was very bad at it, and trust me, I don't want you guys to not to do that mistake. And I could not find one, but I think if you can find someone with the same equation, having a study partner really works, but you have to have the right equation with the person. I was once told that that person should either be a little different from you in a way, so that one person is teaching, the other person is learning, or reciprocally. But make sure you have a right person if you want to have a study partner. And the books are the most important thing that your marks will, not even marks, your understanding will lie on. And that right or wrong book, there is that to some level. Okay. Okay, guys, whoever is private texting me can text it openly, or to Mansimar or to Shravya or to Akruti, because I won't really be able to see the questions right now, so that your questions are not missed. Perfect. And the books you read will really decide the man you are, or the woman you are, obviously. And I would just like to mention a few books here. For PSM, I really love this book called Vivek Jain. I think I should really be getting money from them for sponsoring them so much in all my sessions. But that book is such a work of art. That is a very short, concise book compared to Park, but it has almost everything. I'm not saying everyone to shift from Park to Vivek Jain, but I know that there are 50% people like me out there who are stressed, who were like, seeing Park, it was like, I cannot read this book. This is crazy. And then they are showing the dimensions of a latrine, which is crazy. Like, we don't want to remember that. So read the right books. And I know that you've seen those books, but why I'm doing this session is sometimes you need one person to tell you that it's okay to read a shorter book. If that works for me, it's okay. I don't want to be that person who tells you that, no, how are you not reading Robbins? How are you not reading Genong? How are you not reading Guyton? And I'm not even saying discouraging you from reading those. Those are amazing books. People who've read Robbins, I have the best reviews from them. I have read it from in between because I wasn't very hardworking. But I mean, even without reading it, if you are on the right path, everything is possible. And can we move on to the next slide, Mansimar? I am so tired listening to my own voice, so I'll just have Mansimar or Akruti talk to me in between. And guys, very quickly, give me the answer of what molecule this is. Shravya, do you want to try? Just try. There's nitrogen in there. Not many compounds of nitrogen in there in the body. Okay. Amino acid is okay, but which amino acid? Yeah, carbamine. Okay, glycine. AA. Okay. So, yeah. So let me just tell you, because a lot of people over here might just have been, oh, how would I even in the world want to imagine this? The only problem is we lose how we want to look at things. Amino acid, obviously, because there's one carbon atom with an amino group. We can see an amino group. We can see a carboxylic acid group. I think all of us remember that, if nothing about organic chemistry, right? So it is an amino acid and it has nothing else except that. So it's the simplest amino acid. So it's glycine. And I just said 3 facts that everyone over here knows. What an amino acid is, what's the simplest amino acid, what's an amino group, what's a carboxylic acid. We're just not used to looking at this. And what we do with our heads is, if I've not read this question in the book, then I don't know it. But it's possible, if you see this question for the first time in your paper, you can answer it. You just want to trust yourself. Okay, let me just try it. So give it perspective and trust yourself. Yeah, I love how the queries are being sorted out themselves in the group. So that, yeah, that's glycine. And moving on to the next question. Amazing. Unlearn your assumptions. Very important. Very, very important, because MBBS does something to us that is very, very, very puppy, I would say. And can we have the next slide? Very sinful for MBBS to do. Guys, I want you to, as soon as possible, give me one word that comes to your head, and the third image, and the fourth image, and the fifth image. Okay. Arihant has obviously answered it very correctly. So let me just tell you here. When we think of diaphragms, what comes to all our heads is the diaphragm that helps us in respiration. And whenever it will be shown to us or talked to us in our lives, we will obviously look at diaphragms like that. Because diaphragm means that, because we call it diaphragm. And it makes sense. It's common sense because it's most talked about, but it's called the thoraco-abdominal diaphragm. But if we just stop for a moment and just think, diaphragm is not a medical word. Diaphragm just means separation between the two things, right? Diaphragm is any separation between two compartments. That's exactly what diaphragm is. And even if you want to say that we are talking about medicine here, the thoraco-abdominal diaphragm is not the only diaphragm we have in our body. We have 7 diaphragms in our own body, in each of our bodies. And the only thing that MBBS makes us do is forget perspective. This is the iris, which is the ocular diaphragm. That is the pelvic diaphragm, levator ani, and the thoraco-abdominal diaphragm, and the nerve supply of the diaphragm. And that is the diaphragm of a camera. So it's very important to use our common sense. We unlearn our assumptions that have been ingrained in us time and again by our teachers and the system itself, because that will not let us view the world in its whole horizon. If you don't know there are other options to answers, how will you ever reach to them? So yeah, moving on to the next slide. Okay, very important. I love this slide. Anyone knows Medusa's story? I think, can we have a raise of hands if people know? Who was Medusa? You can just raise your hand. Yeah, perfect. Amazing. तो एक चीज होती है मिस्टेक, गलती, एक चीज होती है ब्लंडर. Mistakes are forgivable. Blunders are not forgivable. Okay. So Medusa was a Greek demigod, I must say. So who had snakes for her hair. And when the demigods used to go to her, she had this curse that anyone who would look into her snake's eyes would turn to stone. So if you go, you don't know, and you look at her, you get turned to stone. That's something you couldn't do anything about. But if you're told that you will open your eyes and you will turn to stone and you still do that, that's a blunder. That's a blunder. And there are blunders that we do in our MBBS life, which I have also committed a few of them. But for everyone, this is very important. These are the 6-7 blunders that you have to very carefully see and not do in your MBBS life. Okay. So Mansimar, can we move on to the next slide? Hi, Freya. I can see you. Perfect. And guys, anyone who wants to turn on their videos, they can turn on. I would love to see you guys. Okay. And anyone who remembers this movie, sadly, this does not happen in our MBBS career. ऐसे try नहीं करना है, ठीक है? And we can move on to the next blunder list. Yes, we have a list of blunders that we're not supposed to do. Okay. Number 1. I might be right. I might have the most knowledge. I might be right on a point. My professor might be wrong on some other point. Trust me, as long as the power is in your professor's head, in your authority's head, you never want to argue with them. Never. They are right. We might be egoistic. We might be so right. We might have the greatest of self-esteem. I have had quarrels with PGs because of reasons, because whatever. But I think it's always better to control yourself. Stay calm in the moment. Let things happen. You don't want to take a quarrel because they will get you a supply. They have all the power. you don't want to waste a year or whatever. So at every point, just don't avoid fighting. I know you're right. I know you're right, because you are the best people I know. And the second question, like, I'll go back to the same place again. The ranks that Mansimar described in the situation starting, that might look like a success story. Rank 1 AFMC, rank 91, rank 78, whatever, like so many ranks. But trust me, that's whenever you look at a success story, that's the part that is visible. That's the tip of the iceberg. During my MBBS qualifications, right now I think we have only one NEET exam and one AIMS exam. I gave 13 MBBS qualification exams. 13. Not that I was not confident I would get selected, but every exam teaches you something. If it does not, you feel so confident going into the next exam, your anxiety is relieved. So never think that मैंने तो पढ़ाई नहीं की है तो इस बारी पेपर नहीं दूंगा, मैं पढ़ के ही पेपर दूंगा. There's a journey to it. You will have to get to that level by practicing giving exams and then reach that level where you are the best of your potential. Trust me, if you cracked an exam in the first time without giving prior exams and you cracked it, trust me, if you would have extra exam experiences, you would have scored even better. Because while I was going to give my 11th, 10th exam, I gave the exam for BITS pharmacy. I didn't want to go into pharmacy, but I still gave that exam for the feel of it. So I think it's a very nice ideology to have that. Give exams, test yourself. Don't bother the world. Don't care about the world. That what will they say, that अरे ये तो बंदा पढ़ता रहा है, इसके number नहीं आए. They are not going to care if you are going to score or not. They will just talk. Do it for yourself. The third, fourth, fifth tips, Mansimar. Okay. Especially for people studying in government institutions, even if you don't know the answer, don't leave the question blank. Write a song. Don't leave the question blank, because I have seen that happen. When your question is left blank, the teacher has no option. If you've written something, then the teacher might not read it and still give you marks. Even if she reads it, if she's good at heart, she might still pass you. But always attempt. On most times, I know that you will still know something related to the question. The same simile that everyone gives, that tie the goat to the tree and write something about it. That works, especially for the system of MBBS. In life, I'm sure it does not, it should not. But we have to adjust ourselves to the system. I have had a friend who was so pure at heart that I have not read this question before my exam. Even though I know the answer, I will not write it, because that is not fair on my part. So I would say, don't do that. I mean, I love that guy, but just try, be smart, because they will do unfair stuff to you. So you have to do that for yourself. And let me just ask that if time waits for anyone, does the teacher wait for 2 minutes more after your exam time is over? He does not. He will take away your paper. He will not wait. She will not wait. And time will never wait in life for you. Then why do we want to boast by completing our exam half an hour pehle and giving it to the teacher? I am done, and get out of the exam paper, because time will never wait for you. You should not wait for time, right? The time that you've gotten, use it well. Recheck your answers. Recheck the question paper. There are things that you might have missed, and trust me, you will improve on your answers. This is specifically for the written college papers that I suggest that needs to be done, but also for MCQs. Don't waste your time. Make the most of the time that you have. You don't want to come out and regret that I didn't even see this question and I still had half an hour, I gave back my paper. So I think that's a blunder you should not do. And moving on to the last points, Mansimar. Yes, most times the theoretical papers will be easy. If they are not easy, they will still pass you. Don't take chits to exam, especially where I have studied or around me. I mean, how much will you be able to write in one chit? You will know more than that. And how do you know that what question is going to come? Unless you have a great grand safarish that you know which questions are going to come, then it is okay. Then you can take the risk. But I think trust yourself, write something. Just the chit system is, when you have a physical copy of something, that is scary. Ask your friends in the paper very smartly, that's okay. But don't take chits, I would say. And does anyone know which is the most sacred paper in your examination hall? The most sacred sheet of paper. a previous year paper. Oh, I love that answer though. I love that answer, previous year's papers. But for most people, it is the answer sheet, right? And the hall ticket. Yeah. But the very correct answer that I see here is Ria's and Mariam's, because we tend to ignore that. Guys, I did this in my final exam because I had this habit of writing all the answers on the question paper. That, okay, let me just write it here and then I will just relax and then write my answers around here. I'll write all the points on the question paper. Don't do that, because that is technically a point where you can be taken away from the paper sheet. And for people like me who are adamant, who will improve only if something happens to them. So exactly, there is a sheet, there is a page in the answer sheet itself. Use that to write your answers. And I mean, I knew this, I still did it. I want to tell this to you because even if you know it, don't do it, right? And the last question mark is something that I could not officially write, but let me just say it in secret. Anyone, everyone around you in your colleges, if you have, do you guys understand what safarish is? Safarish is your approach inside your college with your some teacher, some principal, or who can get you past if you have some difficulty, or some teacher who's very close, who gets you supplies. Because in different colleges there's different departments with different reputations. So most people will tell you, don't get it, it's wrong. Trust me, the system is so corrupt. If you have the availability choice, get a safarish. Okay, please get a safarish. Please get the approach done if you have that option. The connections, if you have them, there's no harm, because the system is sometimes so unfair that I know a few colleges. I think Mansima's college is very famous for it, that no matter how much you study, you will get 50% of the students will get supply in that department. So how to make connections? Is there any way? Yes, join AMSA. Don't worry. Let me know which college you belong to. We'll find a solution, Sahil, for your connections. I mean, not that everyone can pass without it. The tips are for that only. But if you have connections, use them in your college. I'm talking only about your college exams. Okay, it's not going to work in your competitive exams. So yes, we can move on to the next slide. Yes, Seher will be sharing all the connections I have. Okay, I want you guys to give me the answer as soon as possible. As soon. What is this? What do you see here? Yes, grandeur, grandiosity, euphoria. You mean, I'm pretty sure I'm assuming delusion of grandiosity, delusion. Yes, delusions of grandeur. And amazing. A few people have written it, and a few people and illusion. Yes. And a lot of people have thought the answer in your head. Now, let me tell you, this image is the image, but there's a question written. Identify the personality disorder, not identify the delusion. There are two separate things. So sometimes we are already so prepared with the answer that we say it's delusion of grandeur, and you even knew the answer. If it's a personality disorder, that's a narcissistic personality disorder, right? And I just want you guys to know that even if you know it, sometimes you still don't get the right answer. So read very carefully whatever the question is written. Everyone who wrote narcissistic personality disorder is absolutely correct. And those who haven't, I'm sure you know it now, how to read between the lines. And Mansimar, the next slide. And next, I think we can skip this one. Anyone who gets to know the answer can tell it in the beginning. Just remember, if you enjoy academics and you are not, then something is wrong with the system. There's always an enjoyable way of learning stuff. That's a horseshoe kidney. Yeah, I think we can move ahead. Okay. Anyone who knows the story of Achilles? You can again raise your hands, guys. We'll discuss 5 sweet tricks here. Amazing. And Mansimar, do you want to tell everyone about Achilles if you know? Very briefly. You'll need to unmute yourself. Okay, you can't. Shravya, any insight on that? Mansimar, are we unable to unmute ourselves? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hi, Avi. So, I think the Achilles is known for his Achilles heel. He was this legendary warrior who is known for his strength and valor, but he had this one weak spot which brought him down, and that was his heel. So, that's why the Achilles heel is very famous.
Perfect. And so the legend, as very correctly told by Shravya, so this boy had this, he was dipped by his mother in the river Styx, and every part of his body which touched the river's water was protected of any kind of lethal, fatal wound. And there was no way that he could be defeated in any way. But there are two things that we can do there. If you face a problem like that, you can either choose to accept it, or you can think something that there must have been some area that his mother might have held him from and dipped him in the river, and that was the area of his heel. And that's just to tell you that there is always a trick to every impossible seeming problem in the world. Yeah, I think it's river Styx itself. Yeah, can we move on to the next slide, Mansimar? And we'll have a few tricks that can be used in the exams. Okay, if you know your basics, if you know patho, pharma, anatomy, physio, biochem, whatever you know, you have to consciously put in effort to stuff them in. The question will not tell you that, oh, use your previous anatomy knowledge to answer this medicine question, answer this surgery question. You know it. If I get a question of thyroid surgery in my exam, I will still write the thyroid diagram that I saw in my anatomy classes, because if I remember that. So you have to be very smart. Trust me, if your teacher looks at a thyroid diagram in your surgery exam, I am bound to get impressed that, oh, this was not even in the book of surgery. And so you have to know where what things suits. So know your basics very well. And second, everything is planned, especially before the exam. I would say just before the exam, what happens, we get a date sheet. So some exams have more days in between, some have less days in between. Plan your revision schedule accordingly, that you give enough amount of time to each subject, because it's very important that just before the exam, if you've not read the chapter or you've not read the subject within 10 days span, then you will not be able to perform that well, because there's something called a short-term memory, there's something called a working memory, and there's something called a long-term memory. So plan your days accordingly, plan the pre-exam schedule, that really helps. And third thing, which I think has really helped me bag marks in my theoretical exams, even if you know less, in your exam, make extravagant headings. Like I used to get a normal question, I used to make 10 headings: introduction, number 2 definition, number 3 diagram, number 4 pathogenesis. Like I used to divide pathophysiology and pathogenesis differently wherever it makes sense, because once the content is still going to be limited, because you will remember only relevant points. But if you make headings like that, then it gives you an overall picture that you have a comprehensive knowledge about everything. And the headings can differ at different questions, they don't have to be same. If it's an infectious disease, then your heading can be microbiology, gross, like in pathology, the headings could be split into gross morphology, microscopic morphology. Just remember that you have to make headings. And fourthly, very importantly, even if the question doesn't ask you to make a diagram, if it is a question where diagrams can be made, make a diagram. It gives an impact. And yes, the fourth and the fifth point, Mansimar. Okay. Divide the minutes, use the seconds. Recheck the examiner height tricks. I've already told you. Always recheck your exam paper. But very importantly, what I used to do, yes, flowcharts and tables. Yes, Neha. Thank you. And what you do is, like, if I have a 3-hour exam, I look at the question paper the moment I receive the question paper. I use the first 5 to 10 minutes to have an idea about how much time do I want to spend on each question. Not very specifically, but okay, I have 7 questions. I want to get the first 4 questions done in 1.5 hours so that I can get all the questions done in 2.5 hours, so that in the last half an hour I can revise and do the incomplete questions. I think this amount of working during the exam really pays off, rather than just starting and writing, because you will not realize how much do you want to write in a question, because there is endless material you can write on a question. Writing 20 pages on the first question itself and leaving a question at the end is a blunder, rather than writing everything on every question a little less, right? So make sure you do that. Time management in paper, exactly. And the next slide, Mansimar. I mean, these things might seem very obvious, but these are very important. Now, very quickly, I want you guys to choose the only correct statement out of these 4 lines, whosoever knows. And I want you guys to write in the answers very quickly. You guys can read it till then. Absorption of vitamin B12 mainly occurs in the ileum. Brachial arches, A. Okay, perfect. Brachial arches, very quickly, I want your answers. Read them all and give me answers. I got an A, I got a B, I got only A, I got A. Renin is secreted by JG cells, okay. I got a D as well, I got a C as well. I got an A again, I got a B, and I got an A. Shravya, Akruti, I hope you have an answer with you. Akruti, what's your answer?
I think I'd go with A.
Okay. Shravya, what is your answer?
I'll go with the audience choices too, A.
Mansimar, what is your answer? Because I think Mansimar already knows the answer. So, anyone? Kenneth, I can see you. Kenneth, do you want to answer? All.
I'm thinking it's none, because there are lots of spelling mistakes and yeah, they are different, right? Ileum is not.
Okay. So Kenneth, I love your.
Ileum, renin is not renin. So I'm assuming it's none.
Let me just tell everyone. Although Kenneth even got it, but you still are wrong there, because choose the only correct statement. There is a true statement. Now listen to me very carefully, everyone. Like I would say, Akruti, 80% of the, not even 80, 70% of the people said A, but almost all the answers came to us, right? Absorption of vitamin B12 occurs in the ileum, but that is ileum. The brachial arches in humans are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, but that is branchial arches, not brachial arches. Brachium is your arm, branchium are your gills. Renin is secreted by JG cells is totally correct, but that renin is single N renin. This renin is the renin that is secreted from the stomach in neonates. Yeah, I think to digest the casein protein, if I'm correct. And the 4th question, let me tell you, I didn't know. When I made this, I made 3 choices myself. I made the 4th choice by searching the net. I myself did not know. But the question says there's only one correct statement. And even if I don't know the answer, but I'm reading them carefully, I know that the 4th point has to be the answer, right? And trust me, no one in exams, in MCQs, the people who are scoring first at AIMS, the people who are scoring first at AFMC, they don't know everything. They don't. I did not know everything. You just need to be smart in your exam, make sense of everything. And okay, yes, elimination method totally works, but it's very important. This tells you that you have to have 3 things in your head. Read very carefully. I'm pretty sure things are not going to be this difficult. And it is also not nonsense. All the 3 words are actual medical terms. They are not random spelling mistakes. So they are wrong statements. A pivot joint is formed between the proximal radius and ulna, which is correct, which now everyone knows, because that's the only correct statement. But I just want to tell you that our brains have been a work of evolution. So it's very, very easy to manipulate them. You have to start controlling it like a muscle. If like Kenneth was on the right track, she got to it that there's a spelling mistake, right? And then that what it does is then you start searching for other spelling mistakes, right? But even after getting it, then you should use that to your advantage and make sure that I've gotten half of it correct. Now there's also written that there's a true statement. If you mark someone, and then make sure that where is there no spelling mistake, right? And even beyond everything, this is to escape someone. Someone might know that the D statement is correct because of his hard work itself or his knowledge itself. So that is an extra point. But I'm just telling you, if we are medically mediocre, like we are, even then we can score the right point. That is the purpose of this session, to tell you The person who knows this answer also gets D. You are medically mediocre. You just are checking the spellings. Even then you get the right answer. So that is very important, right? So can we move on to the next slide, Mansimar? There are 3 tips and tricks I want to give for MCQs competitive exams for everyone. If someone knows what is the art of skimming and scanning, and if there's any difference, you can just raise your hands if you know what skimming, scanning. I'll also just tell it to you. As told by someone, elimination over selection is an amazing way to solve MCQs. Can't choose, remove. Getting the right answer in the competitive exam is what matters. And know the vernacular language. I mean, they might not ask you much in the competitive exams, but you're becoming doctors in your cities. Most patients around you will know the vernacular. So anyone who knows these words are gaduda, jigar, pitta, gurda. These are Hindi words. So pitta is gallbladder, jigar is liver, gurda is kidney. Anyone who knows what's gaduda? Pitta in rhymes, yeah. So yeah, gaduda is prostate. I mean, these are Hindi words, but I mean, whatever your vernacular language is, I really would suggest that interact with patients, know that it's really important. And the art of skimming is basically quickly, yes. Sneha, you're almost correct. Let me just guide you here. Skimming is overviewing the whole text to have a gist of the whole context, which like Akruti made us do in her events at Room of Riddles, which was amazing. But yeah, skimming is the art of reading it all very, very quickly to have a gist. Scan is specific in the way that you're searching for a word. So these are 2 very important art skills that are going to be very useful during your competitive exams. So I think if you have a skill, it's great. Otherwise, you should always work on it. I am very bad at this skill. So I try to evolve it because this is very useful. And yeah, I think we can move on to the next slide, Mansimar. Okay. I want the answer to this question. What disease is being shown here? What condition? You guys can write the answer in there. And if there are people out there who have not seen this disease, have no idea of this name, I will just help you. If we know nothing, I have not seen this. Okay, Satyajit, amazing. Good job with the answer. Anyone else who has another answer? Yeah. So what happens, lipoma? Yes, good job. Move ahead. So I know nothing in a question. I've seen this image for the first time. Let me go back to my basics. What is this? Number 1, X-ray. What do I see on an X-ray? Radio opaque stuff. What is radio opaque in my body? Bones, because it has calcium. All right. So this must be calcification. What otherwise lies in this area where I can see a bone? That's a muscle, because those are the thinner eminences, or even if you don't know, that's a muscle. So that's ectopic bone formation inside a muscle, which is nothing else but myositis ossificans. Okay. So I'm not saying that it might strike to you directly. This is not the most traditional image of myositis ossificans, but I'm just telling you, all of you knew the facts. You can reach to the same conclusion, even if we are all medically mediocre. We just need to go to the basics if we don't know the answer, right? Rather than, oh, I've not seen this image, let me just skip it, right? That's just the difference between someone who tops and someone who doesn't, right? And move on. I think, Mansima, we can move on to the next. Yes. Someone who can tell me what the green area is. Okay. Our brain has gray and white matter. I'll not take much more time here. Just telling you the importance of concepts. Oh, amazing. I got one internal capsule. Someone else. Internal capsule. Amazing. Insula. Amazing. Insula. Everyone. Yo, external capsule. Amazing. I've got 3 answers: gray matter, white matter. I think it's basically white matter because it's between 2 gray matters. Colostrum, insular cortex. Amazing. Let me tell you, you guys are amazing, but none of you is correct. None of you is correct over here. And you guys are on the right line. Limiting membrane, chordate nucleus. Okay. So our brain has gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is a collection of cell bodies. White matter is a collection of axons. So when our brain is dissected, the cortex outside is gray matter, inside everything is white matter. And when inside matter is a collection of cell bodies, we call it deep gray matter or basal nuclei or basal ganglia, right? So whenever there's a basal ganglia and then there's insular cortex and there are two gray matters, there will always be some white matter in between because those are the only two matters in there. Amazing. So when we have a sagittal or a coronal section of the brain, there's something called the internal capsule, which is white matter, which, let me tell you, is very much away inside. So that is something that should be known to everyone whenever you start reading. Internal capsule bifurcates the lentiform nucleus, outside which lies the external capsule. Okay, that is something that is easy to remember. Lentiform nucleus, internally internal capsule, externally external capsule. Nothing to remember, a gray matter, white matter on both the sides. After the white matter of external capsule, we have another part of gray matter called the colostrum. Okay, after which there is another white matter which is called extreme capsule, outside which is again the gray matter of the insular cortex. And trust me, it might sound to you like a very difficult question, but if you've not made this concept and if you read it carefully, see it, understand it, what is gray matter, what is white matter, what is happening, it makes so much sense. Just immediately inside the gray matter of insular cortex has to be extreme capsule. So this is a part of, I would not say cramming knowledge. This is basically knowledge and applied concepts. But if you'll cram it like that, you will always lead to answers like insula and insula. I can still get it because it's almost there. But I think concepts are very important and they will stay with you for the life. No, Sahil, you don't have to say sorry. That's okay. Yeah. And someone who wants to turn on their mic and tell me the full form of this word. Anyone? Yes, Rishikesh, do you want to answer? Yes. Okay, Akriti or Shambhavi, do you want to answer? Shambhavi, after which okay, Akriti, I think you can answer. Let's not waste time.
Yeah, it's CRISPR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Absolutely correct. So this slide is just to tell you that, frankly, the MBBS system, the medicine system in India, we study, we read, we get in our exams, is definitely 20 years behind, 10 years behind of what research is going on in the world. We are nowhere close. The doctors that we are being made are to help the society in India, how the system, the politics work here. But a lot of us might have the passion to understand or to help the medical profession in a completely different direction, to take things ahead. So it's very important to be aware as a doctor about what medical stuff is going on in the world. And CRISPR, I think, has been there for quite some time. It's one of the most greatest innovations in the medical field right now. So that zest of learning will always be your force, your efforts. So no one's going to ask you in exams unless very late. Make sure that you keep that passion inside you alive, because there's a reason that a doctor is practicing throughout life. He's not working. A doctor does not work. A doctor practices for life, right? And can we have the next slide, Mansivar? Yes, looks can be deceiving. And very quickly, I think we can skip this quickly. Guys, can you tell me the disease? So I think most of you will be able to answer. Yes. The senior ones, basically. It's syphilis, because that's a spirochete, penicillin, maculopapular rash. But the first image we have is a chancre on the finger. Chancre on the finger is not the most common place to have a chancre. So sometimes the examiner will give you untraditional, unconventional images of stuff, but make use of the other hints and understand the examiner that if that has been given as a deceptive image, an uncommon presentation of a common thing. But more often than not, you will get the most common presentations. I think all of us know this, that common diseases happen more commonly, common things happen more commonly. So it's more than the exams. I think in life as doctors, that's more important, to think of the common thing more commonly. And someone who can recognize this device very, very, very quickly. It's 2 electrodes. I think it's electrodes. Where do we use electrodes? Yes, Janvi has given me an answer. Yes, where do we use electrode? And look at the image, what exactly this is. Does an ECG machine look like that? Okay, so a lot of us actually think it like that, that electrodes, so ECG is the answer, and we all read about it, but we have a problem with our system. We don't look at stuff. We've never seen what this actually is. Echo, cardioversion, yeah, cardioversion, DC cardioverter. That's not it. Defibrillator, that's not it. And the correct answer was given very much in the beginning. It's an electroconvulsive therapy machine, ECT. दिमाग को current लगना चाहिए सबको यहाँ पे थोड़ा-थोड़ा. But the point is कि they will always give you questions which have infinite possibilities, but the correct answer should always be one. Priyam, the answer is an ECT machine, not a defibrillator. And I mean, this is just to tell that how lacking our system is. We are theoretically doing stuff. We know that ECT is an indication for suicidal depression, but we don't even look how an ECT looks, or it doesn't even strike to us. So I think if there's something lacking in the system, we ourselves have to make for it, right? And moving on to the next slide. Okay, the master plan. Over here, I'll just tell you one thing, that we have something for every prof that we have over here, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? And this is something that worked for me. And not necessarily it's the exact plan that's going to work for everyone, but I want you guys to take it, edit it to what works for you. And I'm just here to tell you that this worked for me. And if it works for you, it's more than good. But you can obviously edit your things into it, add your things into it. And this is just to give an overview to a few people who might be, I don't know how to proceed in my prof. So for that, I think we can move on to the next slide, Mansimar. Yes. So first year, keep your books and basics. First year, anatomy, physio, biochem, just concentrate on your subjects. That's it. And spend good time. Second year, very important to enjoy. You are not going to get another life, or MBBS is never going to end that you get time to enjoy. Honeymoon, and it's not easy. So survive your prof itself. Third year is super chill relatively, but it's called final part 1 for a reason. It's final part 1 and final part 2, right? So I would suggest that you at least take one subject from your final prof and start preparing for it in your third prof. That will really, really help you. And don't take up too many subjects. Take just one subject. Say medicine is also vast. I think if you are as less hardworking as I was, take 2 subjects within medicine. Okay, I'll do just cardiology or neurology in my third prof, and rest, plant the future seeds. Start thinking if you want to settle in India, if you want to go abroad, you want to do USMLE, you want to do PLAB, start thinking here. Third year is the right time to think that. Can we have the fourth year student suggestion? Survive, but that is not enough. You need to pray. You need to pray, because fourth is not easy. Luck has to be on your side. And yes, as I told, approaches if you have. And internships, the system right now is sad that we don't actually practice being a doctor. We are more of theoretically preparing for our final exams and everything, need preparations. But trust me, it will be a very sad feeling when we come out of 5 years and people start calling us doctors and we don't even know how to do a syringe, how to do an injection, how to take a BP, how to do an intradermal, how to talk to patients. So, and the system does not allow you actively to do that. So make sure you use your internship time to some extent to get familiarized with systems, right? And lastly, I would say the best time to prepare for your competitive is the year itself. If you wait for another year intentionally, I think your zest gets lost. So use the year itself to start preparing for your competitive exams, the NEET, the MLE, whatever. Have a plan in your head Emily takes time. NEET also, I think the next system that is going to come is going to shift this system a little bit for the good, hopefully. But I mean, start planning and don't waste time. Don't think that once you are out of the system, you'll enjoy and then start studying again. It has to be a simultaneous process. And yes, can we move on to the next? And Siddharth has asked me a question, simple and easy book for medicine. I loved this book called Bulur, which was exam preparatory manual. I've suggested it to people that I personally know, Archit Bulur. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book, which has all the beautiful diagrams. I've read it from page 1 to page last. And yes, and pathology, I think I studied Harsh Mohan itself. But whatever works for you. I've not studied them all. Robbins is obviously amazing. If you have the time and the willingness, that is amazing. Yes. And I want you to connect these 4 images to reach to an answer, which is never the answer. So can we have a connection of these 4 images? Is depression, right? Life will never be easy in MBBS. It will never be easy. It will always be a roller coaster. Things might look that someone's very successful, someone's very happy. We all have bad days in our lives, terrible days, where there's problems with love life, there's problem with books, there's problem with marks, there's problem with friends, there's problem with alcohol. Everyone has the same problem. No one is ideal. But depression, suicides, it's a part of it. You have to know how to take it in the stride and just know that it's happening with everyone. You'll not feel out of place. And ever you do. We are all a family, so you can even directly approach me, but you can always obviously approach your friends first. And yeah, I think that was an important point to put in. We can move on to the next one, Simar. Oh, that reminds me something very important. Yeah, हमारे साथ हुआ था. So we were in this internship practical where what happened that there's this patient, the surgical patient, and these new students, we are all sitting, and my batchmates are like, there's a mass in the groin of that person, and they're like examining, ये तो squamous cell cancer लग रहा है ना? नहीं, ये दूसरा वाला cancer. And that patient is sitting in front of them, and he's listening to it. कि like we're talking in front of him कि cancer है, ज़्यादा देर तो नहीं बचेगा ना? मतलब we start talking about patients like they are subjects, and in a way we've been taught like that and everything, but I think it's very important to learn the etiquette, the ethic, that how we talk to our patients. That is why it's important to go to internships and duties. I think we can have the next one. Yeah.
Okay, so now we take questions. The ones which were most asked in the registration forms, and then you guys can send me your questions in the chat or the WhatsApp group or YouTube. We'll take that up after these questions.
Perfect. I think we'll finish the session in the next 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes maximum, 20 minutes, I would say. So if anyone has any questions, be prepared. We will ask you guys. But Mansimar has just tried to compile a few questions along with Tanya, Akriti, and Shravya, which were asked most frequently in the registration form, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so the first question is how to deal with the anxiety and fear during exam preparations and viva.
Okay, so I think number one, the anxiety and the fear during exam is a part of the natural phenomenon. So if you're thinking that you're overdoing it, then it's a matter of cause. But I think for some people, it gives you the kick to study, which is very important. But yes, over stressing and being over anxious, that it triggers you and it affects your exam performance itself is super wrong. Number one, a few people take a lot of stress in their heads to top. Topping is something not in your hands, and it hardly even does not matter, very frankly. Coming from someone who's done that, achieved that on days and not achieved that on days, it doesn't matter. No one is going to ask beyond a point, right? And especially for your theoretical exams when it is not in your hand. So don't stress about it, rise above it, right? Secondly, don't let your health be affected. because of the stress and the anxiety. If there is for whatever reason you could not study, might be a genuine reason, had se had kya ho jayega? You might fail, you might give it after 3 months. It's okay. It's okay. And that is also not going to happen. During the Viva, I believe with a few people, they have this extreme stress of not being able to perform well practically in front of teachers. I think the way to go about it is that you meet people, you start putting yourself in situations like that where you have to talk, answer, practice yourself in front of the mirrors. And the best way to deal with it is uh, the more you study for that exam, the specific exam, or the Viva, the more confident you feel and the less anxious you feel. So just try, acknowledge the situation that it's okay, nothing is going to happen. Even if you don't know an answer in the Viva, say, no, sir, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure that most examiners are chill with it. They don't expect everyone to know everything. So I think, yeah, that's it.
So the next question is how to concentrate, study for longer duration without getting distracted.
Okay. A very simple tip there. A few people can study for long. A few people cannot study for long. Some's grasping power is better. But no matter what, the concentration ability is not more than 1.5, 2 hours. You cannot. And that also if you're interested into it. Okay. Specifically in lockdown, yes. Lockdown, one tip I really suggest, if possible, if there's an area around you, get out of the house. You can walk alone because the change in environment really helps. Looking at the same four walls is depressing. But how do you concentrate? Number one, it's not necessary if you have an upcoming exam, you want to study that subject only. If I had an exam day after tomorrow, which was ENT, but I felt like studying I opened my iBook because I was looking at the bigger picture that in my finals, I have to study everything. So make sure you use your time and there is this break from monotony. If you've been studying I for 2 days straight and you're bored, you feel stressed studying it, take up another subject. That's totally fine. Make sure that the time that you're spending on something useful rather than sitting and opening the book. And that interest factor will really help you concentrate. Don't force yourself. I have to open this book. I have to complete this chapter every single time. Have a balance when you have to do it. But when you have time, you want to read something else, read some other subject. So take breaks, try different subjects, look at the bigger picture, I think.
The next one is how to study effectively and make notes so that revision before exams is easy.
Okay, how to study effectively and make notes. So my problem with this with MBBS was that I used to make very beautiful notes in my +1, +2, but MBBS is so vast that I could not keep up with making notes every day, and then I did not have the right notes at the end day. Yeah, colorful notes, like a lot of beautiful notes I've seen a lot of women make in my class. And but the same point that a few people, you have to understand yourself at the end of the day. Some people write and they learn better. Some people just read. Like it was stressful for me to make notes, also read, also study, also know what and how you work best. Because writing notes will also take time. And trust me, you will not be able to write everything in the notes. One thing I really suggest is whatever your exam is, you read every topic in the book because you don't know which topic is going to come. Rather than studying the same notes, the same topics again and again for perfection, right? But then in the end, I don't have notes to revise. I think if that is definitely a concern, you can definitely make notes for all the relevant topics. Have one book for yourself, highlight things in that book which you want to come back to at the end. I was that person who used to highlight the book. I just had one book for one subject, right? And I used to highlight it because I didn't want to make notes. But for a few people, what you can do is make notes. And then when you read the book, highlight things that you don't think have been covered in the notes. Because you want a comprehensive completion for the end, way before your exams, that, okay, this is the resource that I want to use for my exam. Don't use new resources near your exam time, all right? I think that's the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
I think know yourself, that's the best way. And Corona is here. Any Marvel fans out there? I know Shravya and Akruti. But yeah, Mansumer, we can move ahead. My quarantine leg has started aching. Yeah. How to stop forgetting what is studied. Yeah, I am in the worst situation regarding that right now myself. Okay, that is but natural. You will forget stuff. But let me tell you what happens over a period of 5 years, especially in the final prof, everything is in a way repeated. So what happens over time, dekh ke again and again, your mind gets to know what is important and what is not important. Initially in first prof, we don't understand what is important, what is not. But when clinical relevance starts popping in, when you see the question again and again in different questions, you understand what is important, and ultimately you start prioritizing to remember them. Because if you don't remember every time everything, you cannot remember everything obviously, but you can remember things that are prioritized. When you do tests again and again, and you will be banged into the same question that I again don't know it, I again don't know it, one day you will look at the answers and then you will know it. So that is the gradual process of it. The other thing, mnemonics, yes, they get annoying most of the times. For a few things, like my cramming is really bad. I could not identify. I could identify the pharma drugs, but I could not remember the pharma drugs. That is also very important art. Be smart enough to identify the drugs. If you know what clozapine is, you can make sense what olanzapine should be. It should be a similar atypical antipsychotic, and that's what matters. That's smartness, right? And I would say if there are beta blockers, they end in lol. Everyone knows that, right? Most people know that. Oh lol, right? And there's something that alpha blockers also end in zosin. All right. So prazosin, tamsulosin, those are alpha blockers. Exactly. So I think more than the mnemonics, these logics make much more sense. So that is way more important. Mnemonics get important because obviously for theoretical exams, you have to remember stuff for 10 days, for 12 days, then it's okay. But sometimes I think certain mnemonics are very classically helpful, like, which I don't even want to say they're wrong. Like if we are remembering cranial nerves, upta phagva is what comes to everyone's head, right? So that makes sense, but don't overburden yourself with mnemonic, which you already might know otherwise. So balance, again, you are your best judge over there. Next, Mansimar.
How to know what is important, what is must know from this vast portion of syllabus?
I think I already answered that question with the fact that gradually you start coming to know previous years are very important. That way everyone uses it. But gradually in life also, by the fourth year, get to know what questions are important for what subject, because they will be the questions that are repeated, right? And that is a very important realization you get in the fourth prof. Any resources, the books that I'll just decide. Most common is most important. Definitely it is. But there are other things sometimes in exams, like Brown-Sequard syndrome is not very common, but it is very important because it tests all your tract knowledges in neurology, right? So that way, both the things are important that way. So gradually, when you have questions, you get to know what is important. There are a few people who are very inquisitive, who will get new stuff and who will challenge you, like, oh, have you heard this? Have you heard that? That's nice. But don't get ever scared or intrigued. I get intrigued. Don't get scared by them, because there's so much knowledge that everyone, you can also go search out something and throw something in their face to ignore them. Actually, if you can, if you can't, it's okay. Just absorb it. And the last one, I'll get to the books, the good books I have in my head at the end. Just remind me, guys. And the last one,
Where to find the will and motivation to study when you are getting mediocre to low scores?
yes, I think I would want to answer that in an abstract way, in comprehension to what all we have done. Know that especially the theoretical exams, the system isn't perfect, which can judge you. I have seen people who have not written well in exams scoring so much. I've seen people I know who cannot fail in exams because it's that happens in a lot of government colleges itself. So never feel that. There are a lot of factors. Your handwriting plays a big role in the marks you get. Your presentation plays a big role in the marks you get. Your relationship with the teachers also sometimes plays a role. So sometimes all those things are not in your hands. So why do you want to stress about something that isn't? Be smart, get through it, when you can score your best, do your best to score best, but know that this exam does not judge you. What will judge you is your competitive exam. So work towards that, work towards your concepts and unachievable standards set by toppers teachers. Teachers are not giving the exams themselves, so I don't want to get them into the picture, but exactly what I told you, toppers are medically mediocre sometimes, so don't worry. That's totally fine, and you don't need to be first, you don't need to be 10th, you need to be the best of your potential. That is all I want from you guys, so know yourself. Okay. Next question, last. Anyone who can tell me what the red area is? Anyway, chalo. Mansimar, go forward.
Which books to study?
Okay. I think we can come to this at the end, right? I'll just tell a few if we can even send a list. Vivek Jain for SPM very quickly. Yeah, Insula is correct, guys. Very quickly, I will just, you can tell me the next question till then, Mansimar. I'll just remember the books.
Yeah, it's about time management. So many subjects, so little time.
Okay, so this has AMSA in it. That's a different question. I'll take it. So yes, you make a timetable. Sometimes we are not able to stick to it. So first point is make a practical timetable with provision of breaks in it, because you will need breaks. Short breaks are okay. 1 day break in a 6 days time is also okay. Know yourself. You know yourself that you cannot work for this long. So put a break in the timetable. You don't want to be anxious when you have a backlog. Okay. Balancing extracurricular activities and academics. Now, every person is different here, different types of extracurriculars. Okay. And this is something which cannot be constant throughout the year for a medical student. There will be times when everything is in peak due to exams, everything is silent. There will be times when you are a little free, you can do your extracurriculars. But the day you feel that you're stressed, you want to do something. I want to draw something. I want to write something. Find an excuse to do that, because this is very important as a human being, I would say. And very important in the capacity of a person, things that you can prioritize in AMSA. Not everything is for everyone. We have to deliver stuff through all the departments to offer something to every kind of person. But you don't have to feel the anxiety of participating in everything. Know yourself, the resource that you want to tackle, the opportunity that you want to use. Think what will help you with your CV, or think what will help you in life, or think what will help you enjoy. Those are the only 3 things that I think are valid and logical that anyone can think before participating in an event. I would not say as the VOC I participate in everything, because if anything makes you stressed, even on an event, a competition, to the level that it's affecting you, it's not worth it. Be it academics, be it extracurriculars. So balance it out, self-analyze exactly. And we try that we release the event date a week in advance, 10 days in advance. If you're into it, I want to participate in the Marvel quiz, so I have my date planned for that. And if I can do something else, it's okay. I don't want to unnecessarily involve myself into things that I don't want to participate in. Certificates do matter, but not at the cost of the stress that you're willing to take that much, right? So balance at the end of the day. And yeah, and the next one.
We have 2 questions from the YouTube comments.
Mm-hmm.
How to remember diagrams in anatomy? I tend to forget them always few days after the exam.
Few days after the exam. Okay. So gradually, I feel that there's an individual variation how much one can remember. But trust me, that is a common problem with a lot of us. Even if I see those cross sections of the brainstem, I don't remember them, right? But what helps is the practice. Diagrams are something that you need to draw again and again and again and again. And once your subject is done for the year, there are things that are not supposed to be remembered after that. You don't want to remember everything in neurology, in everything in neuroanatomy, but you want to remember things that matter. Things that matter are like when fasciculus, cuneatus, and gracilis ascend, they ascend as in the ipsilateral sides. And when spinothalamic tracts ascend, they ascend contralaterally. If I know this, my first year ki anatomy ki padhai is successful. I don't exactly know in which side is which nucleus placed. I know what deficits where, to the extent where it is clinically relevant, and if I have my interest. You should be able to justify yourself. If you've read a subject, if you've read physiology, pulmonology, you understand what is tidal volume. It's okay. If there's some rectification that you are justified to forget, that is okay. In biochemistry, no one can remember all the cycles. I cannot remember glycolysis step to step. I have to every time refresh myself, but I can obviously remember where glycolysis occurs. I know that there's this acetyl CoA carboxylation which links glycolysis and TCA cycle. I know where that ATP is generated. I know GTP is generated. I know that it goes to NADPH to the ETC. I know that ETC happens in the mitochondria. All of us know this. So it's okay. That was the reason that biochemistry is in MBBS. It's not that you have to become a biochemist. So you have to rise above yourself and understand that it's okay. And when there's an exam, you will obviously read it. So with diagrams specifically, you need to practice drawing. And the same answer, yeah. Importance of biochem. This clinical relevant, but yeah. There's another question, Mansimar, or are we done with that?
Yeah, there's one more question. How to maintain the continuity in studies when there's no exam?
When there's no exam, that's a tough one. But what I can do is I can tell you a few resources that are very interesting, that if you enjoy academics, you would want to watch it anyway. I am sure that a lot of you know about Dr. Najib ki videos. He's, for people in first, second prof, I think he's one of the best. He's master at what he does. So, and he's something that he teaches everything so passionately, you start enjoying it. It's too late in fourth prof to start studying that because you have so much to do. But I still remember my neuro. I still remember the way he makes his brainstem diagrams. So those resources really matter. Specific resources, I would say BNB, Airbnb, Airbnb, I'm saying BNB Boards and Beyond for USMLE is really amazing. So bad of me, but I think even if someone's not preparing for USMLE, the content that First Aid offers, BNB offers, UWorld offers is amazing if you're interested in making content. So those are amazing resources. Subject-wise, I think Mansimar, we can release a list in the group itself for the books, not to waste time. But yeah, focus on concepts, I would really say. I've also heard people interested in surgery. They can definitely take up Love and Bailey. That is an amazing book. So I've not studied it completely, but I think you should also prioritize what you want to pursue in life, and buy the relevant books. Like foreign authors of those books can work, and you can just work with the basics with the rest of the subjects, because that's a smart way of doing stuff. Most specialists don't know much beyond their own specialty. So if you know the basics of everything, that is, you're a good enough doctor, right? And the last lesson, I think one of the last lessons I have, Mansimar, very important, I think. Can we share? Can we mute everyone else over there? So,
Yeah.
that is very important. Everyone can be confident, but make sure that you're not overconfident. All right. So, and the next slide. I think we're almost at the end towards the session. And one thing that I really want to which I learned from somewhere, and I want to give it to everyone here, 245 people, which I can see on Zoom right now. Whatever you have learned, whatever you have been taught by someone, I think I have learned stuff from a lot of places that I am giving away today. You learning stuff from a lot many other places. Someday I can learn from you. Always just intend on giving it away, like spreading it amongst people. It will never bite you in the back. It will always multiply. It will always just increase, help you yourself. Academic lessons, non-academic lessons, anything that has helped you, I think if you can teach it to someone, there's no greater joy. And it's a cycle. So thank you so much, I would say. And can we move on to the next slide? I think that was the last pearl. And I would just not take much time there. There was something that I had written, which I wanted to end this session on. At the end of the day, we are all becoming doctors, and we get just lost in a track, in a rat race kind of a thing. And I just have one excerpt which I want to share with all of you, that what are we actually becoming? So there was this baby who was a child whose father was almost at the verge of dying. And he always wanted to become a doctor. So he asks very politely, very innocently, that I want to become a doctor, but I don't know which doctor should I become. Should I be a neurosurgeon? Should I be a cardiologist? Should I be a skin specialist? I don't know. So the reply to that is that which kind you become does not matter, but what type of a person you be is what shall matter. So be, if you must, that kind who's courageous, he who won't be afraid when the decisions to operate. He who knows he'd never play God, but he's neither scared to scar his track record. He who's confident and never regrets, because experience will never be enough. The kind who's honest.
Hanji.
The Can we mute? Yeah. The compromised health of a patient, it's not a guilt I think any of us want to live with. Be, if you must, very importantly, a patient listener. He who always has more to know than ever to teach. Be, if you must, the kind who's polite, who would not choose what's easier but what's right. Be, if you must, who's passionate, who gives it all and leaves nothing to fate. And be, if you must, the kind who's compassionate, the kind who serves society and not caters clients. We always have to remember that our profession is something which does not have clients, right? And a lot with white coats will graduate each year and acquire fame, but be, if you must, the kind that can justify the doctor before their name. So always remember that you need to be a good person at heart first. And even if you're not a perfect doctor, no one can be a perfect professional. So thank you for that. And Mansimar, I think we're at the end.
Just think for those who have to check in, I'll be sharing the QR code in the next slide. You can scan that and you have to fill the form for your check-in to be considered complete.
I think the last pearl ultimately is ask yourself what your soul is happiest doing. There is an interesting way to learn everything the world has to offer. Pranita, the books we'll just let you know in the chat box itself. But till then, what I remember, Vivek Jain for SPM is amazing. And for the medicine, surgery, I used to study Manipal, which is also amazing. There's some book called Bhojani for Obs and Gynae, which is a beautiful, beautiful exam preparatory manual. Along with the book that you're reading, you can definitely try that. And for all the amazing rest of the books that I think I have, we can release a list.
Yeah, we'll share the list in the WhatsApp group. I hope those who have registered are in the group. So we'll send it in the group.
The OPY book is Bhojani. It's a beautiful book. And at the end of the session, I think I would say, Mansimar, I think we have the last quote also at the end. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. So don't cry, it's over. Smile, it happened. And most importantly, thank you everyone. But thank you so much, my 4 people who have managed all of this. I mean, I couldn't have done this without them. Akruti, Shravya, Tanya, Mansimar, thank you so much. Because I think this is one thing that AMSA ideally is so proud to do, because as academically, we try to give a lot of insight sessions into how to go ahead with the process and everything. These are some things that we learn across the journey of MBBS. So I hope it has helped you both in an academic way and a non-academic way. And I think any last words, Mansimar, Akruti, Shravya, whosoever you can take over. Yeah.
Here's the QR code. You can scan this and check in. We have a form linked to it. You have to fill that form. Over to you, Akruti and Shravya.
Sat Sri Akal. COVID-19.
Thank you, Mansimar. Avi, we just want to thank you. I think it's a brilliant session. I'm glad I got to attend. I think it cleared a lot of questions I had as well. There is one recurring question in the chat box about your study routine. If you could just give us a little brief overview. Although I think that's a little different for everyone and it depends on what works for you. But since they want to know, if you could.
Totally. I think right now I'm not otherwise the best person to answer that, because Mansimar knows that I'm really not doing the best that I should be able to do right now. But ideally, how I used to work was that I used to take a lot of frequent breaks. But when I was passively studying, I used to have a single book, which I used to carry everywhere. Even when I'm going to walk or I'm going in the car, wherever I used to get time, because I was interested into studying it, I wanted to complete it, I used to carry it with me. And not with the stress of completing it, but because I knew myself that I am that person who will take a lot of frequent breaks. And so, I mean, you have to judge yourself that with the thought that your attention span is only going to be 1.5 hours maximum straight, till the time you're interestingly being able to study good enough. When you're not, take a break, give yourself a break, restart when you want to. Have a balance of wanting to study and the little danda on your head that you have to study, especially during exams, because it's with everyone, including myself. When your exams come, you shoot up, your padai shoots up. You cannot be on the same level throughout the year. So don't worry about that. But I think if your one step is correct, if you are becoming a doctor or if you are taking MBBS because you actually enjoyed the subjects or you enjoyed becoming a doctor, and you are not, then there's something wrong with the system or the education that pattern you're following. Just find the correct way, and I think you'll be able to manage very well. And don't care about the marks beyond getting passed. I would say that.
Right. Thank you so much. I really hope that answered your questions. Thank you so much for an incredibly informative session. I think it's inspired me to open my books and study again, which I think was very, very, very important considering the current situation. But thank you so much. And we'd love to hear from you again. I think everyone wants you to come back and do this on a repetitive basis, just to like motivate us a little bit, I think. Over to you, Shabra.
Okay, thank you so much, Akriti. And I must say, Avi, that was one brilliant session. So thank you so much for pouring down all your experience and your experiences in a way that all of us could some way relate in some level. And for me, and I'm sure for most of us, seniors have always been a guiding light. And so thank you for being such an awesome senior to this whole big AMSA family. And I think the irony of this event is it was in no way mediocre. It was absolutely brilliant. And I think the take-home message is that in life, triumphs are not important, but the struggles do matter a lot. So hopefully we will, all of us, inculcate these, hacks, tips and tricks in our daily routine and kind of elevate ourselves from being in the mediocrity level to reaching excellence. So that is the take-home message, guys. We have left the feedback form in the chat for all of you to put in your thoughts and tell us what you loved about the event and how we can be better, because there's always something that we can improve on. Thank you so much for coming here, taking your time out, and for keeping the participation level at 290 plus. So that was really wonderful for all of us. Thank you so much. And over to you, Mansimar.
Mansimar, before that, can we turn off the screen share? I would really love to have a photo with all of the amazing people.
Yes, turn on your cameras.
Oh, I see Bhavik. Hi, Bhavik. Sanskriti and Janki and Sahil, Nakshatra. Oh God, you guys are. And Rahul also. Oh, Rahul has joined. Sir is here.
We also have somebody asking how they can connect with you. I think Avi's number is pretty much everywhere by now. And I'm pretty sure he's open to all kinds of questions at any time. He'll get to them when he has the time to respond, but I'm definitely sure you will. Is
I
that
would
okay?
love to. And in case, you can always contact me through the Zoes as well. They are much more talented than me in a lot of brilliant ways, and the state heads. So I think before the photo, the one thing I would be the happiest person. I'm just hoping that each one of you is taking away even one single message from here, something that you could relate to, that just happens. And that's the greatest achievement that I think all of us have had, if that has happened. Over to you, Akriti Mansimar. Yeah.
Answer mine.
So yeah, we can take the photos now if we have everyone with the videos on. Yeah.
Are we done, Mansimar?
No, just a second. I'll take it. Yeah, we're done.
So I just saw Kushman. I think Kushman, thank you so much for being there to help us with all of it. You can definitely take a few words at the end. It would be incomplete without you. And Asmita, hi. Is Kushman hearing? Yeah. Rahul, are you here?
I'll be stopping the live stream.
Yeah.